The Nixtal warship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Admiral Valen stood on the bridge, their translucent exoskeleton pulsing with bioluminescent confidence. After conquering 17 worlds across 3 galaxies, the Nixtal had perfected the art of invasion. Earth would be no different. Analysis of the target planet. Valen's voice resonated through the ship's neural network. Science Officer Kira interfaced with the ship's sensors, her crystalline fingers dancing across holographic displays. Primitive civilization, Admiral. No significant space presence, nuclear capabilities, but nothing that could threaten our shields. However, she paused, recalibrating her instruments. Continue, Valen commanded. The planet's composition is unusual. Heavy metallic core, strong magnetic field, thick atmosphere. Nothing we haven't dealt with before, but the combination is unique. Valen dismissed the concern with a wave of Therguine refracting hand. The Nixtal had evolved in the zero-gravity crystals fields of their homeworld, developing technology that manipulated electromagnetic fields and gravity itself. What could a primitive planet possibly throw at them? Deploy the advanced scout team. Standard protocol. 3 scout ships detached from the warship, their crystalline structures adjusting to stealth configuration. As they approach Earth's atmosphere, the first signs of trouble emerge. Admiral. Kira's bioluminescence flickered with alarm. The scouts are reporting systematic failures. Earth's magnetic field is interfering with our gravity nullifiers. Valen watched in growing concern as the scout ship's perfectly orchestrated approach deteriorated into chaos. Their crystalline hulls, designed to bend light and gravity, began to crack under the unexpected stress of Earth's natural forces. The first scout ship attempted to compensate, its crystal matrix reconfiguring to counteract the magnetic interference. Instead, the adjustment amplified the problem. Earth's magnetic field coupled with the ship's gravity manipulators, creating a cascading resonance that shattered the vessel into a shower of crystalline fragments. Impossible, Valen whispered, their own bioluminescence dimming with shock. The remaining scouts fared no better. One ship's attempt to retreat was thwarted by the very gravitational forces it was designed to control. It spiraled helplessly, caught in Earth's grasp like a moth in a spider's web. The third scout managed to maintain structural integrity only by completely shutting down its advanced systems, becoming little more than a glittering paperweight in orbit. Full sensor sweep, Valen ordered, their crystalline form vibrating with frustration. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. Kira's analysis painted an increasingly concerning picture. Earth's magnetic field wasn't just strong. It was dynamic, shifting and pulsing in patterns that seemed to actively resist their technology. The planet's gravity well, combined with its atmospheric pressure, created conditions that turned their most advanced systems against them. The humans, Valen mused, studying recordings of Earth's inhabitants. They evolved in these conditions. Affirmative, Kira confirmed. Their biological structures are perfectly adapted to these forces. They don't just survive here, they thrive. Valen's tactical crystal pulsed as they considered the implications. The Nixtal had always relied on their ability to manipulate fundamental forces, but here was a planet where those very forces seemed to have a will of their own. We cannot retreat, Valen declared. The High Crystal would never accept failure against such a primitive world. Prepare the main invasion force. We will adapt our technology. If we cannot conquer their planet through our usual means, we will find another way. As the warship began its preparations, Earth's defenders remained unaware of the approaching threat. But the planet itself, with its swirling magnetic fields and relentless gravity, had already claimed its first victims. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's greatest ally would be the very world beneath their feet. In the ship's crystal core, Valen initiated the invasion protocols, their form glowing with determination. They couldn't know that their greatest challenge wouldn't be humanity's weapons or defenses, but rather the fundamental forces that had shaped human evolution. The battle for Earth would be fought not just against its inhabitants, but against nature itself. And nature, as the Nixtal would soon learn, played by its own rules. The main Nixtal invasion fleet materialized above Earth's atmosphere, 30 crystalline warships arranged in perfect geometric formation. Their hulls had been reinforced, their gravity nullifiers modified. Valen had ordered every possible adaptation to counter Earth's defensive properties. It wasn't enough. Multiple system failures across the fleet. Kirura's voice carried notes of panic as data streams flooded her neural interface. The magnetic field modifications aren't holding. Valen watched in horror as their carefully planned invasion crumbled before it began. Earth's magnetic field didn't just interfere with their technology, it learned. Every adaptation they made was met with an equal and opposite reaction, as if the planet itself was alive and fighting back. At NASA's Space Weather Prediction Center in Boulder, Colorado, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her monitors in disbelief. "These readings can't be right," she muttered, but the data was clear. Earth's magnetic field was experiencing unprecedented fluctuations, creating patterns she'd never seen before. "Dr. Chen," her assistant burst into the lab. "You need to see this." The night sky had turned into a spectacular light show. The aurora borealis, typically confined to polar regions, now danced across the sky at all latitudes. But mixed with the familiar green and blue waves were strange, crystalline reflections that shouldn't have been there. "They're trying to hide," Sarah realized, her scientific mind racing ahead of her disbelief. "Whatever they are, they're using some kind of electromagnetic camouflage, but our magnetic field is exposing them." In orbit, the Nixtal fleet struggled to maintain cohesion. Their crystalline technology, which had evolved to manipulate natural forces, found itself overwhelmed by Earth's raw power. Ships that attempted to descend faced crushing gravitational forces far beyond their calculations. Those that tried to maintain their position discovered that Earth's magnetic field had turned their own gravity nullifiers into anchors, pulling them inexorably downward. "Adapt," Valen commanded, their bioluminescence pulsing with desperate intensity. "We are the Nixtal. We bend reality itself to our will." But reality, it seemed, had other plans. The first warship to attempt a landing approach shattered spectacularly, its crystalline structure unable to withstand the combination of magnetic stress and gravitational force. The fragments, still charged with residual energy from their gravity manipulation systems, created a cascade of interference that affected nearby ships. On Earth, military installations worldwide went on high alert as unidentified objects began appearing on radar. Yet the most effective defense wasn't coming from human weapons, it was coming from Earth itself. In the Oval Office, the President of the United States listened as Sarah Chen explained via video conference. "Their technology seems to be based on manipulating fundamental forces," she reported. "But Earth's natural systems are too powerful, too complex for them to overcome. Every attempt they make to counter one force creates vulnerabilities to others." Valen's fleet regrouped at a higher orbit, but the damage was done. 5 ships lost, countless others damaged, and they hadn't even engaged Earth's military forces. The Admiral's crystalline form had lost its confident glow, now pulsing with uncertain patterns. The humans, Kirura observed, studying the transmissions they'd intercepted. They're beginning to understand. They're not just watching, they're learning. Indeed, across Earth, scientists like Sarah Chen were piecing together the puzzle. The invaders' technology left distinct signatures in Earth's magnetic field. By tracking these disturbances, humans could not only detect the alien ships but predict their weaknesses. "We don't need to fight them directly," Sarah explained to military leaders. "We just need to understand how Earth's natural systems affect their technology. The planet is doing most of the work for us." Valen faced a terrible choice. Their invasion force, the pride of the Nixtal fleet, was being defeated not by superior technology or military might, but by the simple, unchangeable laws of nature. Every moment they stayed in Earth's vicinity, they risked more losses. But retreat was unthinkable. The high crystal had never accepted failure, and Valen's pride wouldn't allow it. Despite the mounting evidence that their technology was fundamentally incompatible with Earth's environment, they'd made their decision. "Prepare for full deployment," they ordered. "We will adapt or we will die trying." As the damaged fleet prepared for its next attempt, Sarah Chen and her colleagues worldwide continued gathering data. Earth's magnetic field had become humanity's early warning system, and its gravity their strongest shield. The real question was, how long would it take the invaders to realize that their greatest enemy wasn't humanity, but the varied forces they sought to control? The battle for Earth was entering its next phase, and the planet itself seemed determined to protect its inhabitants. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 48 hours, but adrenaline kept her focused. The holographic display in the hastily assembled Global Defense Center showed the Nixtal fleet's increasingly erratic movements. Earth's magnetic field rippled around their ships like waves breaking against crystalline shores. "They're trying something new," she announced to the international team of scientists and military leaders. The alien ships had begun arranging themselves in complex geometric patterns, their crystalline hulls resonating in harmony. "They're attempting to create a unified field," Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quantum physicist from Japan, observed. "If they can synchronize their gravity manipulators." The sky above Beijing lit up with impossible colors as the Nixtal fleet executed their plan. By working in concert, they managed to create a bubble of stabilized space where Earth's magnetic field couldn't penetrate. It was an impressive display of technological adaptation. It lasted exactly 6 minutes. Earth's magnetic field, driven by the planet's rotating core, simply shifted frequency. The carefully constructed alien formation collapsed as their synchronized fields shattered. 3 more ships lost structural integrity, their crystalline fragments creating a glittering rain that burned up in the atmosphere. Aboard the flagship, Valen's bioluminescence had dimmed to a barely visible glimmer. "How?" they demanded. "How does this primitive world continue to counter our every move?" Kira, interfacing with what remained of their sensor network, made a disturbing discovery. "Admiral, the humans, they're not just observing. They're actively modifying their power grids, creating electromagnetic pulses that amplify their planet's natural defenses." Indeed, Sarah and her team had discovered that by coordinating power stations worldwide, they could create artificial magnetic fluctuations that worked in harmony with Earth's natural field. It wasn't sophisticated alien technology. It was simple physics, used with precision. "We don't need to match their technology," Sarah explained to her colleagues. "We just need to work with what Earth already provides. Their weakness is their reliance on controlling natural forces, so let's show them what those forces can really do." The next phase of human defense involved a global network of electromagnetic pulse generators tied to Earth's magnetic field fluctuations. It wasn't meant to destroy the alien ships directly. Rather, it forced them to expend more and more energy fighting against the planet's natural properties. Valen, watching their fleet's power reserves dwindling, made a desperate decision. "We'll bypass their magnetic defense entirely. Prepare for atmospheric insertion. Full power to structural integrity fields." Kira's crystalline form vibrated with alarm. "Admiral, if we enter the atmosphere with these modifications, we risk total crystalline matrix collapse. Better to die in battle than retreat in shame," Valen declared, their pride overwhelming their judgment. The remaining Nixtal ships began their descent, their crystalline hulls glowing white-hot as they pushed against Earth's atmospheric envelope. They had diverted all power to maintaining their structure, leaving their gravity nullifiers operating at minimal capacity. It was exactly what Sarah and her team had been waiting for. "Now," she commanded. Power stations worldwide activated simultaneously, creating a cascading wave of electromagnetic energy that rippled through Earth's magnetic field. The Nixtal ships, already straining against the atmosphere, found themselves caught in a vice of natural and artificial forces. The results were spectacular. Ships that had survived countless battles across the galaxy began to crack, their crystalline structures unable to withstand the combined assault of Earth's gravity, magnetic field, and atmospheric pressure. Those that managed to maintain their integrity were pushed back into orbit, their energy reserves critically depleted. Valen watched in stunned silence as their invasion force, once the pride of the Nixtal military, was reduced to a scattered collection of damaged vessels. Their own flagship's crystalline matrix was showing signs of stress, spiderweb cracks spreading across the bridge viewport. "Admiral," Kira reported, her voice heavy with resignation, "we're detecting similar electromagnetic installations being constructed worldwide. The humans are learning to weaponize their planet's natural defense systems." The implications were clear. Even if the Nixtal fleet withdrew to repair and reinforce, they would return to find an Earth better prepared to use its natural advantages. Each failed attempt only gave humanity more data, more understanding of how to turn their planet's properties into an impenetrable shield. On Earth, Sarah Chen finally allowed herself a moment of hope. "We're not just defending ourselves," she realized. "We're learning how to make our whole planet into a fortress." The battle was far from over, but the momentum had shifted. Earth's greatest weapons had turned out to be its most fundamental properties, and humanity was just beginning to understand how to use them. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the United Nations General Assembly, her presentation showing real-time data of Earth's magnetic field interacting with the remaining Nixtal ships. Representatives from every nation watched as crystalline vessels struggled against forces they couldn't control. "We've identified their fundamental weakness," she explained. "The Nixtal evolved in low-gravity crystal fields. Their entire civilization is built on the ability to control and manipulate natural forces. But Earth's core generates magnetic fields too powerful and dynamic for their technology to overcome." In orbit, Valen faced mounting pressure from the high crystal. Their invasion force, once numbering 30 ships, had been reduced to 11 damaged vessels. Worse, their attempts at adaptation had only revealed more weaknesses for the humans to exploit. The humans have deployed electromagnetic pulse generators on every continent, Kira reported, her crystalline form dulled with exhaustion. "They're coordinating them with their planet's natural field fluctuations. Our shields can't compensate for both." Valen's bioluminescence pulsed with frustrated patterns. Their latest attempts to breach Earth's defenses had been met with increasingly sophisticated responses. The humans weren't just reacting anymore. They were anticipating. On Earth, military bases worldwide had been transformed into electromagnetic defense stations. Scientists from dozens of countries worked together, using Earth's natural properties in ways never before imagined. What had started as a desperate defense had evolved into a new understanding of their planet's potential. "They're attempting another formation," Sarah announced, watching the alien ships arrange themselves into a new pattern. "But look at their energy signatures. They're weaker than before. Earth's magnetic field is wearing them down." The Nixtal's latest strategy involved creating controlled magnetic corridors through Earth's defense network. In theory, these pathways would allow them to bypass the worst of the planet's natural interference. In practice, it was like trying to cut channels through an ocean. Earth's magnetic field, powered by its rotating core, simply flowed around their attempts at control. Each fluctuation forced the alien ships to expend more energy maintaining their position. It was a battle of attrition they couldn't win. "Admiral," Kira's voice carried notes of desperation. "3 more ships are reporting critical crystal matrix failure. We can't maintain this formation much longer." Valen watched as their carefully planned corridors collapsed, Earth's magnetic field rushing back into the spaces they tried to clear. The remaining ships scattered, their gravity nullifiers struggling against forces that seemed to grow stronger with each passing hour. On the surface, Sarah worked with a team of geologists and physicists to take their defense even further. "Earth's magnetic field isn't uniform," she explained to military commanders. "There are natural variations we can exploit. By timing our electromagnetic pulses to these variations, we can create zones where their technology is completely ineffective." The strategy proved devastatingly effective. When the Nixtal ships attempted to regroup, They found themselves herded into areas where Earth's natural magnetic field was strongest. Their gravity nullifiers, already strained to breaking point, began to fail. Two more ships shattered, their crystalline fragments joining the growing debris field in Earth's orbit. The sight of their comrades' destruction sent ripples of fear through the remaining fleet. Even Valen's iron discipline couldn't prevent whispers of retreat from spreading through the neural network. The humans aren't just defending, Curie observed, studying intercepted communications. They're learning. Every failed attack teaches them more about our weaknesses. They're turning their entire planet into a weapon. She was right. Across Earth, nations that had once pointed weapons at each other now worked together, sharing data and resources. The Nixtal threat had united humanity in ways previously unimaginable, and Earth itself had become their greatest ally. Sarah Chen received reports from monitoring stations worldwide. The alien ships' energy signatures were growing weaker, their attempts at adaptation becoming more desperate. Victory wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. They can't win, she told the UN Assembly. Every moment they stay in Earth's vicinity, their ships deteriorate further. They're fighting against the fundamental forces of our world, and those forces cannot be defeated. Valen, their pride crumbling like their fleet's crystalline hulls, faced an impossible choice: continue the invasion and watch their remaining ships be destroyed, or retreat and face the High Crystal's judgment. Either way, the mighty Nixtal had met their match, not in humanity's weapons, but in the very planet they had sought to conquer. As Earth's magnetic field pulsed with another natural fluctuation, the remaining alien ships struggled to maintain their positions. The tide hadn't just turned, it had become a tsunami, and the Nixtal were about to be swept away. The last stand of the Nixtal fleet began not with a bang, but with a ripple in Earth's magnetic field. Valen, their crystalline form now webbed with stress fractures, watched as their remaining ships attempted to form a final defensive formation. Hull integrity at 30%. Kira reported, her voice carrying the weight of inevitable defeat. Crystal matrix failing across all decks. We can't maintain position much longer. Below, in the Global Defense Center, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the aliens' desperate maneuvers with a mix of scientific fascination and grim satisfaction. They're trying to synchronize their gravity nullifiers one last time, she observed. But look at their energy signatures, they're barely holding together. The Nixtal's final strategy was as ambitious as it was doomed. By combining the power of their remaining ships, they hoped to create a bubble of stabilized space, a small volume where Earth's natural forces couldn't reach them. From there, they planned to launch a concentrated attack on key defensive installations. Earth had other plans. Major solar flare incoming, announced Dr. Tanaka, his eyes fixed on solar monitoring equipment. The magnetic field fluctuations will be off the charts. Sarah's team had learned to predict these solar events with remarkable accuracy. More importantly, they had learned to use them. As the solar wind rushed toward Earth, electromagnetic defense stations worldwide adjusted their output, preparing to work in concert with nature's fury. Valen felt it first. A tremor through their neural network as Earth's magnetic field began to shift. The carefully maintained formation of their remaining ships started to waver. Admiral, Kura's bioluminescence flickered with alarm. The humans, they're not fighting us. They're amplifying their planet's natural response to the solar event. She was right. Rather than attempting to attack the alien ships directly, humanity had learned to step back and let Earth do what it did best. The electromagnetic pulse generators weren't weapons. They were conductors in a planetary symphony of natural forces. The solar flare struck Earth's magnetic field like a cosmic hammer, sending waves of electromagnetic energy cascading around the planet. The Nixtal ships, already strained to their breaking point, found themselves caught in a perfect storm of natural and amplified forces. Crystal matrix collapse imminent. Kira's warning came too late. The first ship shattered spectacularly, its fragments catching the sunlight like 1,000 falling stars. The second and third followed quickly, their gravity nullifiers overloading in rapid succession. Each destruction added to the chaos, creating feedback loops in the magnetic field that hastened the collapse of the remaining vessels. Valen watched their mighty fleet disintegrate, their own flagship's crystal matrix groaning under impossible stresses. In their pride, they had thought they could conquer any world, bend any force to their will. Instead, they had discovered that some forces refused to be controlled. The high crystal was wrong, Valen admitted, their voice barely audible over the sound of their ship coming apart. We didn't fail to conquer Earth. Earth refused to be conquered. On the surface, Sarah Chen and her colleagues watched the final moments of the invasion. The remaining Nixville ships, no longer able to maintain their structure against Earth's natural forces, began to break apart. Their fragments, still charged with residual energy from their gravity manipulation systems, created beautiful patterns in the sky as they burned up in the atmosphere. "It's over," Sarah announced to the assembled leaders. Their technology couldn't withstand the combined forces of Earth's magnetic field, gravity, and atmosphere. Nature won. In the aftermath, humanity found itself changed. The invasion had taught them valuable lessons, not just about defending their planet, but about understanding and working with its natural forces. The electromagnetic defense network, originally created to fight the Nixtal, became the foundation for new technologies that worked in harmony with Earth's properties rather than trying to overcome them. The debris of the Nixtal fleet continued to orbit Earth, its crystalline fragments a glittering reminder of the day humanity learned that their greatest strength lay not in dominating natural forces, but in understanding and working with them. In the years that followed, other alien civilizations would observe Earth from a safe distance, puzzled by the fate of the mighty Nixtal fleet. They would see a planet that appeared primitive by their standards, yet was defended by forces more powerful than any artificial weapon, the very forces that had shaped life on Earth from its beginning. And if they looked closely enough, they would see a civilization that had learned perhaps the most important lesson of all, that true power comes not from conquering nature, but from becoming part of its dance.